During the last stream that we did, Jake and I and the community took all of the commanders from the new Aftermath set and we analyzed them and then we ranked them against each other on a tier list. Look through the tier list, let us know if you think our analysis is on point or if we should have graded anything differently according to you. And if you'll give me just a second to thank our Patreon for helping us work toward full time on this, we'll be right back with the tier list.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
Tazri, Stalwart Survivor, a white and 2 other for a 3/3 human warrior. Each creature you control has tap. Add 1 mana of any of this creature's colors. Spend this mana only to activate an ability of a creature. Activate only if this creature has another activated ability. And then 5, 1 of each, Wooburg there, tap, mill 5 cards, put all creature cards with activated abilities that aren't mana abilities from among the milled cards into your hand. So we've got activated ability deck with Tazri at the helm. This one has a lot of implications, I think, because the creature has to have an activated ability. You can only spend the mana that it's giving the ability for on activated abilities. But 5 to mill 5 and then put all creature cards with activated abilities that aren't mana abilities from among the milled cards into your hand seems very interesting. Lots of brewing potential.
It's 5 color, right? And here's the other thing about it is it's very cheap. It's a 3-cost commander, so I'm sure that there's some sort of sweaty build that can happen here. What are your thoughts on it? I'm kind of medium on it.
Yeah, I think it's better than a B. I think it falls firmly in A for me. I feel like
it's like very niche, but I'm sure that there's something absolutely busted that can happen with this.
That's what I'm feeling. Is I haven't sat down and brewed this commander, but there are enough activated abilities in the history of MTG to fill out a tribal quote-unquote version of activated abilities, and you've got access to every single card that ever did it. And so I just feel like there's a broken build of this, or a very strong deck at the very least. And so to me that makes it an A.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with an A. I know that it's super sweaty, and I know that 5 color, it's like a lot of CEDH decks like to look for commanders that are very low to the ground. I don't know if this has any sort of CEDH implications, but it is a pretty interesting card. Yeah,
DJ Zam in chat said, seem like some crazy untappy big mana sink abilities to abuse. That's what I'm thinking, is this gets really broken when things are tapping and untapping and retapping and untapping again, and you're just like dumping mana or reusing an ability over and over again. I think it's got a lot of potential. Jake, you actually picked this. Yeah, you picked this one for your favorite commander cards, but it's making it into the legendary tier list instead.
Yeah, Arni Metalbrow, 1 red, 2 other for a 3/3 human berserker. Whenever a creature you control attacks or a creature enters the battlefield under your control attacking, you may pay 1 red and 1 other. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value less than that creature's mana value from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So this is just going to cheat out some crazy stuff, man. And if you're able to protect Arni and let it just sit there and act as this big crazy enchantment for you, you can just empty your hand if you play big stuff. It's like play everything else for cheap. It seems really strong.
Yeah, cheating is really strong, and honestly, it just says put, and that is it. It doesn't have an end of turn qualifying phrase here at the end that gives it, you must sacrifice it or return it to your hand or anything like that. I think the piece holding this back is that it's mono red. That's the issue here.
Correct, and that's the reason why on the other list that we're going to get to later on tonight, I actually picked it for the 99. I think it's great for the 99.
Yeah.
Like a big stompy, like a red-green deck or something like that, or like Jund, some sort of like ramp to big stuff. Imagine having an Eldrazi out and then attacking with it and just casting a cheaper Eldrazi or like Vigor or something for 2 mana. It just seems like a way to really be degenerate. So I would actually put it at, for a commander, because it's mono red and there's other good mono red choices, maybe like a B. It's a good card.
I was feeling B. B.
I mean, it's like I like it for the 99. I don't like it at the helm of my deck. It's kind of like how I feel.
Plargg and Nassi make an appearance from Strixhaven here. 2 red, 3 other for a 5/4 Orc Efreet. Interesting creature types. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card, so it's going to hit. An opponent chooses a non-land card exiled this way, so you pick one person, they pick one card, or chooses a non-land card exiled this way, got it. You may cast up to 2 spells from among the other cards exiled this way without paying their cost. So you get the opponents get a chance to all sort of convene and say, okay, look, I think that we shouldn't let them have that card right there. But you can choose from the other stuff. The thing is it's going to present, it's like a tally in that it's going to present an option. You can't whiff on any of the tops unless it's just a card that sucks, like Counterspell or something in this case.
Yeah, this seems to be something that Wizards of the Coast is exploring more and more, which is like these, I guess we could call them Chaos Wand type effects, and now they're putting them on creatures, because it was like Chaos Wand, and then after that it was Wand of Wonder, which was one that hit everybody. Like, I liked Chaos Wand just because I could target one person who I think may have something that I could use, and it's just something to do. You're just rolling the dice. But this is like exactly like a tally. I've played a tally a few times now. It's pretty strong, man. It seems to kind of like, if you get a tally out, the value that you get from it is it's big value. So there might be something here, but as a commander, again, mono red, dude.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
This one is a C for me, just because number 1, mono red, number 2, 5 mana. And I'm not one of these like everything has to be 3 or 4 mana to be playable purists. Okay, I like casual commander. That's mostly what I play. Really strong casual commanders
is strong casual commander decks.
Exactly. And so I'm not saying I would never build this. I'm just saying that it's sort of limiting, and it happens at the beginning of your upkeep, so it's a little slow. So it wouldn't be the first thing that I built. And so I think Plargg and Nassi lands at a strong C for me.
For me, that deck would literally be like playing bad Atali. It's like,
right.
It would be an artifact pile. Try to get Plargg out as fast as possible, and then start getting value from it. And I would rather just have red green and be able to ramp to something like that. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Next up, we have Nissa, Resurgent, Animist. 1 green, 2 other for 3/3. Landfall here on this Elf Scout. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. Oh, it's Lotus Cobra effect.
Lotus Cobra on a Nissa.
It's good. This is Lotus Cobra in your command zone. Then if this is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an elf or elemental card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I just don't like that it's mono green, dude. But
Elf
we
ball
did just get spanked
Elf
by,
ball, yeah,
we got spanked pretty hard by mono green recently.
Mono green, big stuff trample, and Elf ball decks have the tools that it takes to be competitive commander decks at this point. Green has everything.
I mean, there are very good elves. It's a highly supported tribe. It's an amazing
and there's just
type.
At this point in the game, green doesn't have a blind spot. Green just doesn't have a blind spot at all. It can remove artifacts and enchantments. It can remove graveyards. It can return things from its graveyard. It can draw cards. It presents huge threats. It ramps lands onto the battlefield. The small creatures are also mana dorks. It's just like, what?
The small creatures are actually also big creatures.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just...
like the 2-cost green stuff ends up being like a 4/4 a lot of the time.
Yeah, I see it can fight to kill creatures. I see Kraken Jank in chat saying it doesn't wrath well, but it also has heroic intervention, and so it's even got a tool for that, versus some colors where they just don't have tools to deal with certain strategies. Enormous blind spots if you're playing certain colors monocolor. Mono green really doesn't. Anyway, this one...
Shout out to POA who says, I wish it could take more advantage of the elemental. Well, let's just say this. It does get better the more green elementals that come out in the future. So it's like one of those cards that's like you could put it on the fine wine list, right? Because it's just going to age. Like what if we do a highly elemental set the next time we go back to Zendikar or something like that? It's going to get better with all the green elemental stuff. So that can change. What we do know about Landfall is it's a very strong ability. Landfall is very good.
Super strong. And Lotus Cobra is
really
super strong, even in the context of Commander. I know some people aren't really into it, but I've only ever seen it just absolutely wreck face. Plus, every single turn, you're going to reveal until you get the relevant thing you need. It's not just flip the top, and if you're lucky, it's good. You're looking at a definite elf or elemental, depending on how you build it. Plus the ramp is just insane, man. It's velocity and it's ramp on a commander. I feel like this is a mono green A, and I would want to play it, and I feel like it could potentially go to B. I don't feel like it's going to potentially go to S. You know what I'm saying? So it's like A teetering toward B for me.
This is just get it out ASAP. You should easily get it out turn 2. You may get it out turn 1 in some decks, but easily get it out as fast as possible. And then every single time you ramp, you should be getting value from it. And so you don't have to build any sort of draw into the deck, because every time that you ramp, you should be just velocity, just digging through the deck. Yeah,
honestly, this lets you run a little heavier land package because you're able to dig past them with her ability, and you're able to guarantee that you're land falling every turn to take full advantage of all of the ability, because you want to be doing it twice a turn. That is really the weak part here, is that you've got to have some other card to help you play 2 lands. But
you know what's honestly really cool about it is they designed the card in such a way where you don't have to do elves. I mean, you do have to do elves. Let me say this differently. They designed it in such a way where you don't have to exclusively do elves, and they give you a little bit of flexibility so that you can put big elemental stuff in the deck as well and grab that with the ability to. So yeah, I would be fine putting it at an A. It's pretty sweet. Are these the elementals that are...
I mean, top 8 are all playable. Let's see if top 12 are all playable.
Really good. Oh shit, Vigor. That's right. Vigor's an elemental. This is actually really good. This is really good. I would easily put it at an A, because all it is it's another general that does everything you need it to, right? It's the engine. It's everything that you need on 3 mana. All you have to do in this deck is just play every ramp spell imaginable, and then you're just going to dig through and find all the stuff that you need.
Dude, so we're down far, and we're still playing. Like, this is the first row where I'm like, okay, I don't think we're going to run 3 of these. But like
Tim
Splinter
says,
Fright,
I knew y'all would settle on an easy A. Yeah. No, you're right. You're
right,
rolls,
Joel. Man. That rolls, man. That's an A.
It's good.
I like
It's
Nissa.
good.
That might be the one I build from this set. That's another thing we got to determine. Which commander do we want to build for this set to play on stream? Calix, Guided by Fate. Jake, you want to tell us about this one? Or did I tell you about the last one?
I did the last one, so you go ahead and do this one.
Calix, Guided by Fate, is 1 white, 1 green, 1 other for a 2/2 human druid. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield, under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And whenever Calix or an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. Do this once each turn.
Wow.
It's
pretty good. This is actually is this set going to be standard legal?
Yes.
It is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this card is amazing in modern Enchantress decks. This is amazing in modern Enchantress decks, in my opinion. It seems very, very good. It just hits in all sorts of different ways in that deck, but I don't know how good this will be as a commander. It's hard to tell.
I think that +1/+1 counters are underrated as a mechanic. As a secondary mechanic
get out of
like
hand
this,
really good, really quickly.
One, it helps you de-incentivize blocking, and there's always a player at the table that's got like just a 3/3 or a 3/3 and a 2/2. You know what I'm saying? Or a utility creature, 2 or 3 utility creatures that they don't really want to die because they're part of some multi-card combo that they're trying to pull off. And so this, at the very least, helps you get that combat damage through. Losing points, though, for it's got to be combat damage that achieves this. This is like a battle enchantress deck. And so is this just going to be like hardened scales and doubling season and all that kind of stuff? I guess so, right? I guess. Dude, I really like Calix seems like an S to me. If instead of saying whenever Calix or an enchanted creature you control, if it said whenever Calix or a modified creature you control, so that it would count enchantments and that +1/+1 counter that you can put on stuff, then we're in business. Creating a token that's a copy of non-legendary enchantment you control. If you're creating copies of doubling season and hardened scales and that kind of stuff, I mean, that can be kind of shenanigans. There's removal spells, journeys to nowhere, stuff like that. Yeah, you know, O-ring that you can copy and exile stuff. I do like that they do this only once each turn. This might actually be very good. Yeah, it seems like an A to me at the least. I don't think it pushes over into S just because it's got to be combat damage. And yeah, it's in the 2 most annoying colors ever when they're paired together. I hate playing against green white. I think A is safe for Calix. Yeah, I would go like B.5, but I'm fine with A as well. I think it might move down to a B. I'm kind of with you there where I'm like, this teeters more towards B. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. I mean, the cards that are going to go in that deck as a commander are going to be all very strong cards. Sure. And it's only 3 cost, you know? So it's like... You know, side note, it automatically goes into any enchantress in the 99. It's automatically better than at 100%. Least one card in that deck. 100%, yeah. All right, Danitha, new Benalia's light. Love this art. 1 white, look at this light. 1 green. Yeah, 1 white, 1 green, 1 other for 2/2 human knight. Vigi, trample, lifelink. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an aura or equipment spell from your graveyard. So it's green, white, graveyard. Yeah, I think because there is no black to help you fill up your graveyard. I mean, you could play stuff like mulch, I guess. You could play a bunch of green cards that just mill stuff to the yard so that you could cast it and then take advantage of things that way. But it does need to be an aura or equipment. So I like that she's got vigilance, trample, lifelink. Those are really good keywords together. Here's the thing. This to me seems like Voltron. This is probably how I would build the deck. Is I would just pitch as much stuff to the yard as I could using green spells, and then I would try to obviously cast the stuff from my hand, but then get as much out of that ability, because it does say once during each of your turns. I would just try to start casting stuff out of the yard as much as possible. But she's got an inevitability to her, right? Too, because I like Tim C's point. If you're Voltron, you're losing auras to the yard real quick anyways. Don't need black. So it's just like this commander that can Voltron up. You play it. You start dumping your auras onto it. Your equipments, if they destroy them, they'll also go to the graveyard. You can play those again. But every time Danitha comes back, you're just resuiting her with whatever you've pulled, whatever you've played. They've got to exile your graveyard. Just like get Angelic Destiny back. Get back, the Lightning Greaves after it gets aced. Yeah, I mean, this seems good. It seems pretty fun. They do give you all of the... Yeah, keyword ready. That's right, DJ Zam. I would go solid B on this. Yeah, me too. Just because it's even more combat related than Calix. I mean, Calix has to deal the combat damage, but... We could potentially get a bird token or something suited up with 1 enchantment that'll return to our hand or something, and we can reuse it over and over again when the thing dies. And that can be think of stuff like the cartouches. Right. Like the green cartouche that comes with I think it comes with a 4/2, I believe. I was thinking might be I was thinking No, I'm thinking of something else. Like this. Stuff like this where you can pay 1 white to return it to its owner's hand at instant speed, and so as that thing dies, you can pay 1 Return it. Rancor, Sean Brown in chat. Rancor, that's a good one. Oh yeah,
of course. Rancor. And yes, totem armor comes to mind.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to be like, it brings value with it. Yes, that's going to be the kind of stuff. That might be fun to build.
We
that
like
seems
Calix.
like it.
Oh my god.
Let me say this before we get into Jirina, because this one actually looks, dude, this Jirina is so good in the 99. I don't know how good it is as a commander, but all of the creatures that we've seen so far are super sweaty. Look at how all of their converteds are so low to the ground.
They're pushed. They want people to buy this set, and so they're pushed. They've got to make cards that you need for standard. They've got to make cards that you want for modern. They got to make cards that the commander players play. You know, if you're watching this after the fact, check out the other video that I'm going to talk about, but chat hanging out now, we're going to do the video later. I put a card in there specifically. It's okay, the card is, but the wording on it was so like, here's how we're going to print more and more commander cards into standard sets. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, you're right, man. It feels really pushed. They do feel a little sweaty. Even the damn Voltron commander, we're like, yeah, I don't know, it's pretty good. You know? And so it's just gotten to a ridiculous point. But Jake, I don't think there's anybody here better and more prepared to discuss Jirina than you. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this one to you.
Well, this one's honestly, I'm really impressed with WotC because I almost feel like the complaint was heard and they made a really good Jirina here. 1 black, 1 white for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Why not? Why not? And sacrifice it. Humans you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So it's for humans. It's amazing as well for modern humans. Like, this is like such a staple in that deck, in my opinion. This is at least like a 2 or 3 of in the sideboard. It just does everything that you want to do for that. As a general, I'm very medium on it, dude. I'm like so medium. I mean, there's some good humans in white black. I think that there's a deck being able to give your stuff hexproof and indestructible on the general. That's what this is. This is a white black heroic intervention on your general. So
zone, right?
I mean,
plus a Tormod's Crypt. Those 3 things. It is. I am very medium on it as well. I think this is a strong
human board
B.
wipe tribal. That's what people are saying.
Right.
Yeah, that's. I mean, exactly.
I think that this is a strong B. I think that 3 things all combine to make it a B. This is a Tormod's Crypt stapled onto a heroic intervention, given the human subtype relevancy, and then only costed at 2 mana out of the command zone, plus it provides you 2 colors to build with. So all of those things together pull it up from a C to me, because it's just very, very medium for me. But I do think it's a very strong B. Gotta shout out, Zach made a good point in chat. Gotta shout out Christy Balanescu, the artist on this one. Jirina looks so fucking badass, ready to fight. I do not want to get like shoulder checked by her with those crystals, because ouchie. And I also just got to go back for a second. Randy Vargas knocking it out of the park, by the way, on the Danitha piece. This is ridiculous looking, absolutely insane. Randy Vargas is an absolute legend. Jirina, strong B?
B for Barina, I believe.
B for Barina, Dauntless General. Hey, this one's relevant to me. Dude, I'll do honestly, this one.
Okay, sure. I mean, it may even be like C territory, but let's just leave it at B. It is amazing for the 99, and because it's 2 CMC,
right?
It gets hit by so many spells that are like, Jake, bring back target permanent with converted mana cost, 3 or less.
Think how much this is going to absolutely shut off a deck at the table. How often is somebody playing a graveyard deck, man? And you just have ace that out of your command zone multiple times a game.
If you're playing humans and you're in those colors, you should be running it, because it's absolutely a heroic intervention for your stuff.
For sure. Jolrael, Voice of Zhalfir. A blue, a green, and 2 for a human druid 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 target land you control becomes an XX green and blue bird creature with flying and haste until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Wow, it's still a land. Whenever a land creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, because we are just stapling draw a card onto every commander nowadays. This seems so strong, it's ridiculous. You got to play land spells, you got to play draw spells, and then this card... No, you got to play land spells. Sorry, you got to play protection spells. Jolrael does everything else for you. Jolrael takes care of your creatures for you. Keep your hand full.
They put draw a card on so much these days.
Dude, you can make 4/4s that fly and have haste so easily. And this can come down in your main phase 1 and be creating a big bird ready to attack and draw you a card same turn. And so this is one of those Simic snowball commanders to me, where the first couple of times it happens, you're like, okay, I got pinged for 3 or 4 by a bird. That hurts. They got to draw a card, whatever. But by the 3rd or 4th time that's occurring, you're not even realizing their hand is staying at 7. They are developing more and more board state just like you are. And you are slowly dwindling in your resources, and you have to answer all these flyers. This card seems nuts to me, and it's only 4 mana for all this.
Yeah.
And that's
LOL the big bird deck.
The last line of this, and then I'll pass it to you just because I'm so blown away by this commander. The last line of this doesn't even say triggers once each turn. Or whenever land creatures, you know, it lets every single land creature that connects draw you a card, is my point.
Yeah. So Chad is already saying stuff. I was going to say Sylvan Awakening, but Awaken the Woods.
And then there's
cards
other
like that,
support, yes.
that are going to allow you to fill up your hand. So like, say, for example, in a scenario where you have 1 card in hand and it's Awaken the Woods, and you're able to cast Jolrael and just animate your lands and swing.
Right.
Then you're going to be able to fill your hand back up in one turn while dealing damage to people. So
run cards like this, turn your lands into 1/1 Vigi indestructible hastes.
Now here's the thing, is that animating lands kind of scares me.
Oh yeah.
Because once they get aced, I mean, that's your mana base as well. So
100%.
For me, this is, I'm not super high on the card, though I do see how it's good. I do see that it's like, you know, if you have a handful of 7 cards, then you're just passively getting an extra 7/7 to swing with every time you get to your combat. You know, it's like...
And on the land front, you know, you can just run a bunch of land spells as well. This is a deck that doesn't mind if you overdo it a little bit on, you know, Nature's Lore effects, because you're, or any of the, you know, 3 visits, any of those. You can just run as many of those as you want to, because those are essentially creatures for you. It's basically go search a creature and put it on the battlefield. And
so I mean,
Jolrael,
other than that, you just build it big stuff, right? Just like generic good stuff, probably.
I mean, honestly, I'd put a bunch of ramp spells in there. I'd build protection into it, all sorts of like trickery and combat tricks and return to hand and deflect spells to other things, stuff like that. And it would just roll. It would just roll. So it's feeling like you're not on Jolrael at an S. Are you on Jolrael at an A?
Yeah, I mean, I would put it at an A. It seems like pretty good value. What I'm seeing so far is not a lot of cards that are just a straight up dud.
Yeah, no hardcore misses so far. But let's take a look at Kiora, Jake.
1 blue, 1 green.
Here.
Kiora Water Mommy. 1 blue, 1 green, 3 other for a 4/5. Merfolk Noble. This is a mythic. Vigilance Ward 3. Whenever you cast a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent spell from your hand, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's mana value. You may cast a spell with mana value less than X from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So kind of like we were talking about that C tier creature down there.
Yeah.
This is kind of doing something, Arni. It's kind of similar to Arni in that you're casting something for cheaper based on mana value. This to me, Vigilance, Ward 3, it costs 5. I think it's just insanely pushed Simic good stuff type thing. Like that's like kind of the vibe I get from it.
Yeah, I'm kind of low on this card because it seems super slow to me. I want this to be 3 or 4 mana, honestly. But, you know, those Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpents that you're casting can be so game warping in and of themselves. Maybe, you know, trying to ramp to 5 mana and casting Kiora and then ramping up then to cast another, you know, cast a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent to get another one. So you get 2 basically every time you cast. If you don't whiff, which if you build it right, you should whiff not that much. It's just a little bit slow for me.
It's just, to me, it seems like Simic big stuff.
Right.
That's like
Simic stomping.
And how many times
it snowballs out of control, it'll be insane.
It does. It does.
But I just feel like this one could potentially be a deck that's dead on arrival a lot. And honestly, man, I've gotten so low on Ward over the past few months as we've played more Commander. In League especially, Ward can be obnoxious, but there are a lot of times where it just doesn't matter, where they're going to play their 2 mana removal spell for 5 instead. Yeah.
I mean, Ward 3, that is an extra 3 on there. Yeah. So, I mean, it does have some built-in protection. I would put it at probably like a B or a C. It's hard to put it at C. It's like strictly better than that thing at C.
Yeah, and you could potentially like cast this and same turn get your thing, but Plargg happens at the beginning of your upkeep, so everybody just knows it's coming. It is on the way the whole time. Nahiri, Forged in Fury. Now here's some colors I like to play. White, red, 4 for a 5/4 core artificer with affinity for equipment. So it can have that 4 reduced. Okay. It can also have its commander tax reduced. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, exile the top card of your library. You can play that card this turn, and you can cast equipment spells this way without paying their mana costs.
Oh my god.
Calling all Bobby Z's in chat. Bobby Z is
my goodness.
Bobby Z is our resident Wyleth player. Huge Wyleth Boros card draw equipment deck player. So I want to hear his thoughts on this one if he's around, but I'm looking at...
This is just the stupidest. This is so insanely busted.
This can come down for 2, up, you know, as low as 2. And it immediately gets its ability because you can do it in main phase 1. So when you go to attacks, you're ready to trigger that top thing and potentially get another equipment onto the battlefield for free. Anything that lets you manipulate the top or like draw a card, put a card back on top.
Sensei's,
really helps you here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deck for Sensei's top for sure, because imagine like putting high cost equipment on top to get for free. It's just nutty.
I see some people in chat saying, yeah, too bad it's a 6 mana. And I see Bobby saying, too bad it's a 6 mana. But like this affinity for equipment, I think, is going to go much further than y'all think it will. And I know that there are now some token equipment creators. Token equipment.
Also, it's in the colors to protect your equipment too. You know, you got Teferi's protection. You've got spells like that are going to allow you to protect your board and make sure that you're able to cast that easily.
Yeah, I mean, this is making all blood tokens you control equipment. I've seen.
I was actually really surprised that Forging of the Tyrite Sword never really took off. That seemed like a good card.
Well, I think Nahiri is really strong, potentially A.
Oh, I think it's definitely an A. I think it's an A.
Yeah, I think after I play tested, it could potentially be an S.
You have to build it into like all equipment. Like the whole deck is just tons of equipment because and you want to be able to cast it
so that you can equip stuff to them.
Yes, you need token generators other than just the general, because if they are able to remove the general a lot, then you're quickly in one of those situations where you're going, well, here we are, you know?
Right, which will happen. So, but yeah, I mean, Bobby Z just said it. I had 16 Bloodthirst Battle Axes out last week. Nahiri costs 2 perpetually in that world. There's not a time you cast that commander and commander for more than 2 mana because you're affinitied out.
Right.
Let's look at Narset. Narset's always seemed to break the game. Does this one? That's the question.
Yeah. So white, red, blue, one other for a 3/4 legendary creature, human monk. Creatures you control have prowess. It's pretty good. Whenever Narset Enlightened Exile attacks, exile target non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than Narset's power from a graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana costs. So, yeah, it's just extremely strong.
I mean, another Narset infinite turns.
Yeah. Creatures you control have prowess as well. Just, you know, why not? I think the card is fine without that. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah, dude. Create a ton of goblin tokens. And you've got prowess on all of them. You're going extra turns with Narset's ability. You're recasting your extra turns you've already cast. I mean, this one seems like an S to me.
Whenever it attacks, you're exiling target non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than Narset's power from a graveyard. So it is contingent on what is in your opponent's graveyards. I think that's kind of like holding it back from being an S. I think it's like...
You just put whatever you want in your graveyard. I don't care what's in their graveyard. That's just extra.
Yeah.
I'm casting extra turn spells and pumping her power up to 5 so I can recast them. With creatures that are prowessed 4 or 5 times each across literally all of my 1/1s.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It just feels like this. It's
this
interesting.
Is probably the S. This is probably. I mean, it's in colors that are just shenanigans too.
Yeah, and to K-Spice's point, can be mostly anything. Enchantments, artifacts, instant sorcery is always good.
Yeah.
Gonna be something good. I feel like it's interesting too because it takes a very specific build. You got to be pretty good at deck building, honestly, to build something that's going to really take advantage of this. It's not just, you know, you started playing Commander, pull out your Narset Enlightened Exile deck that you found online and rock with it. That ain't going to work. But you know, with a pilot that knows what they're doing, this feels like the card here so far that I would just be sighing a lot when I played against it. Moving on from Narset. Nashi, Moon's Legacy. And I got a question about this one. Are you saying...
You go ahead and read this one.
Are you saying this is Tamio's progeny? I mean, are you saying that Tamio got jiggy with a rat? Let's move on. A blue, a green, and a black. For a 3/4 rat shaman with menace and ward 1. Whenever Nashi, Moon's Legacy, I'm going to call it Nashi, Tamio's Dark Secret, attacks... Exile up to 1 target legendary or rat card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy. So it is Sultai 3/4 Menace Ward 1. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 target legendary or rat card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy.
It seems kind of cool.
Yeah, it seems kind of cool. This one to me seems more like it's meant to be a constructed card, not a commander. Menace is a better ability than people give it credit for, though, so, you know, I will give it some points for that. Oh, you may cast it. You're not just getting it for free.
No, you don't get it. You
still pay its costs, Joel. Look, they even put 5 words on there just for you, Joel. Read the fucking card, Joel. You got 5 words right here that explains it, Joel.
Yeah, you know, I think it's actually a C, dude.
I feel like this is a C. This is a C. Not big on it.
Break a leg. Have fun.
Not big on it at all. I just don't think that Nashi is where we want to be. But Niv-Mizzet Supreme looks pretty sweet, gotta say.
Yeah, flying hexproof from monocolored. Okay. It's Wooburg to get this 5/5 on the field. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard that's exactly 2 colors has Jumpstart. You may cast that card from your grave. Oh, that's right. You may cast that card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs, then exile it.
It's got Jumpstart, right? Which means you can cast that card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs. So you run that alongside cards like Bag of Holding. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Whenever you discard a card, deals 1 damage to each opponent. Costs 2 less for each card you discard or slide. You know what I'm saying? And so you're running it alongside cards like that, like Containment Construct. Whenever you discard a card, you can exile that card from your graveyard. If you do, you can play it this turn. There's already so many.
I would build it Niv-Mizzet's big commands, and I would play all the splashy commands like Silumgars and Ojitais and all of those commands that never get. This is super casual, dude. I would put it at a B.
I think
it's super chill.
That hexproof from monocolor too, man. I feel like this is one that was going to shock you and be an A.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not getting hit by Path and Swords and Beast Within, Chaos Warp, Murderous Cut, all of the like removal, most of the removal actually, it's kind of immune to.
Yeah, and then getting your instants and sorceries back, meaning you can also cast them at instant speed. There's no other restriction on this, not just during your turn, so your counter spells are coming back, all your, Teferi's protection, stuff like that. I could see it landing.
The only reason I wouldn't put it at A is because it's Wooburg. It's like you got to have 5 color to get it out.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty tough.
I don't think it is that tough anymore, honestly, man. 5 color mana bases have so many tools now that's like, oh, it taps for everything. This creature makes it tap for everything. I mean, this artifact taps for everything.
There are things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, until you like get the graveyard online, it's just a 5/5 for 5, with
for sure.
a 5/5 flyer for 5. It's not bad.
No.
Obnix.
Captive Kingpin, dude. A red, a black, and 2 for a 4/3 demon with flying and trample. It says whenever one or more opponents each lose exactly 1 life, you put a +1/+1 counter on him. Then you exile the top card of your library, and until your next end step, you can play that card. So you have to build it very specifically, right? It's automatically down into the A-B tier just because it's very specific. However, it really gives you some nice card advantage because that's whenever. This doesn't trigger once per turn. You can just ping all of your, ping anybody, grow Nixilis as a big flying trampling threat, and get extra spells to be able to cast.
Chat saying another combo with all will be 1, which is 2 red, 3 other for whenever you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, all will be 1 deals that much damage to target opponent, creature an opponent controls, or planeswalker an opponent controls. So
super synergistic.
Seems pretty strong.
Yep.
I would put it at probably an A, maybe like an A.5. It's red black, flying and trample and red black, 4/3. They need to lose exactly 1 life, so it's like you can pestilence.
Yep, and damage will cause loss of life.
Sharpshooter.
So any of your goblin bombardment, any aristocrats style things, that's more where my mind goes. Is Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist.
Chat really thinks S here. Are you thinking S, Joel?
I think it's really strong just because there are so many aristocrat strategies, and it says lose life. It's not take 1 damage, and so it's going to count damage. It's going to count all instances of Blood Artist type effects. Lose a life, you gain a life. Like, we can do that so much. It just feels like there's already a lot of support for this commander. And so the fact that it's
just velocity. It's just going to let you play out your deck very quickly. It's going to let you dig.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can play the card.
Fine. Let's put it at an S. Why not?
You can do lands. Fine with it. Lands are viable hits there.
I think I'm like A.5 on it. I'm not seeing like the S straight up, but I do like drawing through my deck.
Yeah.
And this seems very easy to make that happen. So I'll go ahead and read this one. Pia Nalaar, Council of Revival. 1 white, 1 red for a 2/3 human artificer. Opters you control have haste. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. This is the one that I am the least high on of the night. I would put this at a C just based on reading it. Very medium on this.
I would honestly put this as a D as a commander. Okay, so Thopter's having haste, dude. Fine.
I don't like this card.
Play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile. Okay, I know how we're gonna achieve that, but I have to have this out. I have to do the thing, and what I get for that is a 1/1.
I hate this card. I hate this card. Let's just put this at D and move on. This card sucks.
I would prefer this be a 6-mana commander and have better text, but keep the same thing. Maybe Thopters you control get +1/+1 for each Thopter you control, so it's also a coat of arms to make your Thopters worth a shit in commander.
Maybe if you want to build changelings, that way all of your changelings can be Thopters. Then it goes to
just to give them haste? Just to give them haste?
Exactly.
I run that commander to give my changelings haste.
This card sucks. Let's just keep going.
Rocco, Street Chef, Naya across the top for 2/4 Elf Druid. At the beginning of your end step, each player exiles the top card of their library. Until your next end step, each player may play the card they exiled this way. So it gives everybody an extra card until your next turn, basically, until the end of your next turn. Says whenever a player plays a land from exile or casts a spell from exile. Whoa, we need Nalaar over here. Call her. She'll create Thopters. We will put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and create a food token. The payoffs for me aren't big enough to counterbalance the fact that you're giving everybody a card.
This is not that good, man. This is like a C for me. This does not seem that strong. Until your next end step, each player may play the card they exit. It's like group hug. You want to play creatures with trample so you can grow them with the +1/+1 counters, and you're growing by 3 power on the board. Part of their library. I mean, you assume you're growing if all 3 players play their thing, including you get 4 power on the battlefield each turn across whatever you want. You got to think, let's shoot for the middle on that. Average, you're going to get 2. So every turn you're growing the battlefield by 2 power on your side, and you're creating food tokens, which we can do a lot with. So I think it avoids a C. And I think that there will be a way to leverage everything on this card against the goodwill that you're getting. Yeah, I see a little bit here. Right. I do see some benefit for yourself. Yeah, I think we could go B on this. Yeah, I think it's a B. I think that the benefits, I think that you'll be able to leverage the benefits that everybody gets against them, because they are not going to want to remove Rocco, and so you're going to be able to guarantee your strategy. And so if you build it where your counters and your food really matter. You talked me off the edge on that one. Yeah. I was very quickly to be like, go to hell, Elf Druid, be banished. But I do think that there's some merit here. Yeah, I think it's fine. Samut, Vizir of Naktamun. I want to talk about this one because I want to build this one so bad. This is my life on a card. 1 green, 1 red, 1 other for 2/3. First strike Vigi haste. So kind of a throwback to the Samut that we saw back in Amonkhet. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that creature entered the battlefield this turn, draw a card. So this is like a Fires of Yavimaya, a Fervor, Rhythm of the Wild. You want stuff to have haste in here. Correct. Including Samut already has it, but you're going to want some other enablers, Concordant Crossroads, stuff that just gives stuff haste, because when you play big things, you want to be able to swing with them the turn that they enter with this Samut. I think it's pretty cool. If that creature entered the battlefield this turn is huge here, and not the fact that it doesn't say if that creature has haste, draw a card, because you get access to all of the mechanics like dash that put it onto the battlefield, it deals damage and then goes back to your hand. True. Any of the stuff that creates, like 3/1 tokens with haste and trample, sack it at the end of turn, all of those cards are super relevant in this. That turns that into refilling your hand. You just literally pack your entire deck with
creatures and stuff that attacks the turn it enters. And when your hand gets low, sneak Samut in, have some damage happen. You're refilling your hand, you're passing, right? And so for me, I really like this. I think it's it's kind of a catch-22 of a commander, right? Because the strategy itself, hasty creatures, it can be fine. It can be really strong. It can probably win games, but not necessarily a top-tier strategy. However, for that strategy, this commander is top tier for that strategy. And so it kind of hits in a weird place for me. I really want to give it, like 3 mana. It's refilling your turn. It's got great keywords.
Here's the thing. I think it's a solid B, dude. I think it's not like a bad B where it's like, oh, it's a B. I think this is like a B that's like,
that's what
it's
I'm
just
saying.
a very good, solid card.
I want to give it an A so bad, but the strategy itself might not be strong enough, if that makes sense, to pull it up to an A. Sarkhan, Soul of Flame, little blue on a Sarkhan here. Have only seen that once before. Got a teamer Sarkhan back in the day. Red, blue, 1 for a 2/4 human shaman. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Sarkhan, Soul of Flame become a copy of it until end of turn. Except its name is Sarkhan, Soul of Flame, and it's legendary in addition to its other types.
Oh, this is fun.
That could be very, very powerful. Just the fact that you can reduce... Think of all the great 5-mana dragons and imagine them costing 4. They will
there's
forever.
There's good blue dragons too, like Icefall Regent. There's some stuff that comes to mind. This is one of the cards that would go on the fine wine list because it gets better
every time a good blue or red dragon come out. Yep.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. And what's cool about it is it's kind of like a Voltron general where it's like play dragon, swing with Sarkhan. So it's like maybe kill one opponent with Sarkhan while you're using your dragons to like take everybody else down. Every time you play a dragon, have Sarkhan come out. If the dragon has a good attack trigger, then you're going to be able to get that attack trigger the turn that you swing with Sarkhan. So I mean, that's pretty sweet, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like if
those attack triggers, dude.
Like Hellkite Charger, for example, is one of the best dragons that I could think of that has a really good attack trigger. Like if you're able to get value out of, I mean, for me, I would still run a couple effects like Fervor, like things that are going to give haste, because dragons with haste, it seems good.
Oh,
but yeah, like Goldspan. Goldspan is an attack. Ancient Copper Dragon, that's combat damage. So you could have Ancient Copper Dragon come out, swing with Sarkhan, get through, and then get a huge value off of getting Sarkhan in as Copper Dragon that turn.
Yeah,
so
and I think legendaries too, because the commander says, except its name's Sarkhan and it's legendary in addition. So it can become a copy of a legendary dragon because it's not going to have the same name. And so you can have Drakaseth Maw of Flames deal 4 damage to any target and 3 of up to 2 other targets when it attacks. That can be replicated onto Sarkhan.
This is like Sarkhan's surprise, like pop-up buffet.
Because even if you don't have the haste enabler like you were talking about, you play Balefire Dragon, it hits, Sarkhan becomes a copy of it.
Right.
Balefire can't attack this turn, but Sarkhan can, and can hit for 6 and then deal 6 to each creature that player controls. So but it is just this tribe. It's not gonna like blow out. It's a really fun. I would
put it at A, dude. I actually like it. It's a 3-cost commander. It makes dragons cheaper, and it comes in as like,
I think it's on the same level as Samut as far as power level goes. Yeah, I think both of these are better than some of these, but I think that both of these are on about the same power level because you're just doing, I mean, this isn't even refilling your hand. This is giving you that surprise thing, and it's reducing costs, which is nice.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think
we could disagree. We could agree to disagree. I think it could be an A or a B. I'm fine with them being either one.
Let's live here. We're gonna roll on chat. The people who have spoken in chat about it seem to think it's an A. Happy with it there. I think it's comparable to the
all right,
to the
so this one
attacker.
this one's pretty crazy.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
go ahead and read this one. 1 white, 1 green, 2 other for Sigarda, Font of Blessings. It's a 4/4 flyer. Legendary creature angel. Other permanents you control have hexproof. So that's the asceticism right there.
Already
You may
good.
look at the top card of your library anytime. That's always good. And you may cast angel spells and human spells from the top of your library. So this for me is pretty much a top tier A territory. There's probably an argument for S, human angel commander.
Yep.
It's got the hexproof built in, so it's like make sure you protect it, but it's asceticism for all of your stuff out of the command zone. It's really strong.
I actually think, and chat, I want to remind you, I've seen some comments in chat. We are rating these in a vacuum. We're rating these against each other. So we're not saying that if we say this commander's an S, that it's better than some existing S tier commander. We're saying it's S of this group. I think Sigarda is an S of this group.
Yeah.
Asceticism
so
on
too.
4 mana, all permanents. You can look at the top card of your library, and that helps you cast angels and humans off the top. So it's velocity as well.
Yep.
I think that within this group, this is as strong as Narset returning your extra turn spells, and I'm Nixilis being a fantastic Rakdos Aristocrats piece. I think Sigarda is just very good. It's just very good.
Yeah.
Tyvar the Bellicose coming with some Thirst Trap art again. Green, black, 2 other for a 5/4 elf warrior. Whenever 1 or more elves you control attack, they gain Death Touch until end of turn. Fantastic ability. Completely deters wanting to block. Each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, put a number of +1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produced. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Wow.
So I need to check with you. Each instance of that only triggers once each turn, correct?
No, because it says each creature you control has. So each creature you control gets that.
So can I, if I have 3 mana dorks on the battlefield, can I tap all 3 of them for mana, and they're all 3 going to get counters equal to the amount of mana this creature produced? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. And the ability only triggers once each turn is to prevent you from infinite combos with it, right? Like untapping and retapping for 4 mana. Because they didn't want to automatically set you up for any of those creatures that say pay 2, untap this creature, and let it tap for, 3 for some reason. I'm just making sure I know exactly how this works.
Yeah, I don't know why he's a 5/4. That's a big elf.
This is, well, yeah, he is the warrior elf at this point in the story. This seems very strong to me. Mana dorks, any commander that's going to turn your mana dorks into threats. And I mean, the only real thing here is like you're going to have to run, and you have black in your commander's colors, so this is not going to be a problem. But you're going to need to run some card draw on the deck. You're not going to be able to really get any velocity out of the command zone here. But you're growing your line. This drops down. It's like once you have a board, I mean, just every time they tap for mana, they're growing stuff. I think this is a fun build.
I don't even really care about the top ability all that much, dude. Like the top ability is fun. Elves are getting Death Touch, but for me, it just says each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, put a number of 1/1 counters on it. So I don't even think it has to be elves. It can be elves because some of the good elves like Arbor Elf, Llanowar Elf, Flintward Elf are all really good mana dorks that I think would want to be in here. But if I were to build this, I would just build every single mana dork that I could into this, make sure it's always on the battlefield, and then keep tapping them for mana. Probably play like 10 good payoffs that are like big, like Eldrazi kind of like splashy creatures, but then just make sure Tyvar's always on the battlefield so that all of my mana dorks are always getting counters. And then I would do doubling season, hardened scales, stuff like that, so that every time they get a counter, they're getting extra counters. And then I don't know. I think it seems pretty casual, but it's probably fun.
I think a strong B here, honestly.
Yeah, it's a way to get the most out of mana dorks.
For sure.
Yeah, a B is fine.
We got one more left. Karn Legacy Reforged. 5 mana for a star. Power and toughness, each equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control, so it's automatically a 5/5 because it checks itself. At the beginning of your upkeep, add colorless for each artifact you control. Mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So you can't dump it all into a, Torment of Hailfire. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end.
Oh, okay. So it's going to last through your combat steps. That's cool.
Yeah. So you can activate abilities of stuff with it. You can cast anything that's got artifact as a subtype. Obviously, if this is your commander, you're playing colorless tribal anyway. So you're probably running a lot of artifacts as it is.
Darksteel Forge comes to mind. Right.
This really takes you from that. Once you get into that 4 or 5 mana territory and you've got Karn out, this on like turn 6, you're going to have access to like
a ton of mana.
6 mana, 5 mana.
Just from artifacts.
And then you've got all your mana that you've tapped already. And so this effectively can double your mana by turn 6.
I think this is an Eldrazi commander.
And then you can start running stuff like that, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's an Eldrazi commander. You just do an artifact pile, Karn, and then... I
have a hard time giving this one S, chat. It's colorless, so you get access to like nothing. You got to do your strategy, and you got to do it fast because you ain't got anything else you're doing.
Yeah, I think this is... artifact pile and ramp to Eldrazi.
Right.
I think there's other things to do, but that's probably what I would do.
I think it could be
I think
an
it's
A. Yeah.
It's probably an A. It's fine.
So here, as we get to the end, Karn is the last one we have, Jake. I want to propose...
Kind of pushed.
I want to propose that we take Kiora down to C and we take Arni down to C. And I feel like that is our list right there. We just rated these early before we got some of these A's and S's up here. And so I feel like, and even some of these B's, right? Like Rocco, just Samut and Tyvar. Samut and Niv-Mizzet alone are better than all 4 of these commanders. And they are on here, So I just think that this is where I would land. Would you change anything about this list?
No, it looks good. I think it looks good.
Chat, that is our tier list of all
Tim
of the...
says we're going to regret it. Tim says we're going to regret not giving that Karn an S. Well, we'll see.
We'll see, Tim. Maybe we'll see you in League. Build a Karn deck, kick my
legit.
ass.
I hope it's not legit regret. I hope it's not like the kind of like, oh my God, like I really wish that I had freaking rated that Karn an S because things in my life have gone terribly since I rated it an A.
Doing these tier lists is always fun, but I gotta tell you, I've never thought about one after. Make sure you go down into the comments and let us know what you disagree with on this one, because I know that these always beget a lot of disagreement. Other than that, make sure you like and subscribe.